Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Well, today I want to talk about homage watches and what homage watches really mean to me. Perhaps they mean it to you, or what this whole thing about good or bad, should you get one, shouldn't you get one, should you just go for original watches, why are people buying these, why are people not buying these? Basically that sort of conversation. And I've been thinking about it a lot because I have a few watches in my collection that make me think, well, is this a homage watch? Is it not a homage watch? What is a homage watch? Well, homage obviously means something that is heavily inspired by something that they're recreating. They're using the styling cues of it. And in the watch world, well, there's a whole sort of range of different things that sort of get considered to be a homage. Obviously, there's some very clear homages, like the Rolex Submariners, where they pretty much eye for eye, dot for dot, copied the exact watch in the look anyway, and then put their own logo on it. Obviously they're not the same watch, not the same movement, but they very much look exactly the same. However, there's a lot of watches that are around that when I've shown them to people, they go, oh, that's a homage of this other watch. And I've sort of thought about it, and I don't always agree with them. I understand that perhaps there's some styling cues or some inspiration that has been taken from other watches, but when you put them side by side, there's some really significant differences. So let me talk about what I've been thinking about and what's been going on inside my head about this conversation of homage watches. And let's start off with my pocket watch. My pocket watch is not a particularly fancy pocket watch. It's not a particularly well-known brand pocket watch. It was released around about 1910. At the time, it would have been a very affordable, blue-collar class people who would have bought this watch. There's no fancy brand on it. It's nothing too special, but it's quite special to me. But have a look at that dial, and have a look at it closely. Does it remind you of anything? Well, what it reminds me of is every single other pocket watch I've pretty much ever seen. So, was this watch homaging another pocket watch? Was it copying outright a better known brand? And which was the brand that started off this looking pocket watch? Well, I don't know. I don't think it is a homage. I think it's just a pocket watch, and that's the styling of pocket watches. And even when you look at the case, the design, how it opens up, how it's wound, it's very, very similar to a lot of other pocket watches that you see. Yes, okay, they're not all exactly the same, they don't all look exactly the same, but they're pretty damn similar, aren't they? So, well, what do you think? Is my pocket watch a homage? So then I was thinking about that and I think, well, what about some slightly newer watches? Well, let's still think old watches. Let's talk about watches from sort of the 50s and 60s. Those sort of smaller 36mm dressy kind of looking watches. There certainly seemed to be a lot of watches around that era that looked very similar to each other as well, didn't there? Have a look at a couple of these that I'm going to show you. They certainly feel, look, and certainly appear the same. Well, maybe not exactly the same, but are they homaging each other? Was there a watch that came out first that they just then copied and photocopied and reproduced in their own brand? Or is this not a homage watch? Is this just the style of the watches at the time? Alright, let's jump into the current era. Let's talk about homage watches today. There's two watches that I want to discuss with you and talk about. Let's talk about my Kronos Submariner homage. This absolutely is a homage watch. How could it not be? It is very much styled after the Rolex Submariner, the dimensions, the look, the curving of the case back, the bracelet, the clasp, everything about it really is taking full inspirations from the Rolex. So this is definitely a homage. Some people may call it a copy, but I don't think it is a copy because, well, look inside of it. It's not the same movement in there. It's not made of the same materials. It's not made of the same quality. It's just an affordable, very close homage to the Rolex Submariner. And I understand if you're out there and you don't want to own a Rolex Submariner homage, that's perfectly fine. But for me and for many people out there, we're never going to spend that $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on a Rolex Submariner, but we still might like to have something like this on our wrists. So this is a really good, affordable version of it. I bought this one because it is a particularly good variant of a homage to the Rolex Submariner, and I'm very happy with it. It's a lovely watch. So, but let's put that aside, because obviously this one is a homage, well, or a copy. Certainly not fake. Well, I just got to this point in editing this video. I'd recorded it a little while ago, and I noticed at this point my next door neighbour started doing some drilling and was a little bit too loud. So I've just come back in to re-record the last little part of this video about homage watches. The last watch I wanted to talk to you about is my Bernie sort of dress style watch. Now, when I've looked at other videos doing reviews of this watch, and even myself when I did the review of this watch, I did mention that it did look a fair bit like the Mondain railway style watches. However, I do not think that the Bernie is a homage of the Mondain. And let me tell you why. Yes, there are some similarities visually. If you have a look at the dial, the indices, the hands, and that red second hand, there is some similarities to that Mondain watch. However, I just don't think they look exactly the same. And then when you do a little bit more of a deep look at the watch, or even just a surface look of the watch, have a look at it on its side. The case shapes are completely different. The Mondain watch has that sort of bowl-shaped case back, whereas the Bernie watch is very slab-sided and does not look anything like it at all. Yes, they both come on black leather straps, but so do so many other watches. So I'm not going to say that this is a homage watch at all, and I think it clearly, for me, represents some other watches that have been identified as homage watches, and I just don't think they really are. Yes, they may well be taking some inspiration from watches, but I don't mind that, and I certainly don't believe that that therefore means it's a homage watch. So really, that's all I wanted to talk to you about today. I just wanted to mention a few watches, a bit of history of watches, a bit of talk about what I think is a homage watch and what I don't think is a homage watch. So I'll be really interested to see if you have similar thoughts, different thoughts. Leave me one of those comments down below. I'll always respond to you. And I hope you enjoyed the video. See you again shortly.